Hey everybody, how are you doing today? It is August 27th, about 9:30 p.m. I am still going from yesterday. I have not been to bed. I covered that storm pretty much all the way until it was, way north of pretty much where the eye was at the border, Arkansas and Louisiana. And while we were live, with some of you probably caught with me, we caught some things that are just going to be very, very evident of how they lied about this storm. And what I've been working on today is a video that is going to be, I am taking so much time with this, and I've done so much research on Hurricane Rita and so many other storms that have hit this area, and comparing and contrasting everything that they said, okay? And that's what I've been doing all day today, is researching this stuff, getting these videos recorded to put them all into one good video that maybe you'll be able to take to somebody that looks you in your face and says, why would they lie about this? Why would they say it was going to be a Category 4 when it was maybe a Cat 2? Okay? You'll have the evidence right there to give to them. I was up early this morning. It started off as a really bad day, because I woke up and had a message from unemployment, and unemployment said that my weeks were approved. And as some of you know, I've been waiting for my unemployment all the way back from April. I've never gotten it. And so I certified all my weeks, and each week is like $760, and they owe me back till April. That's like $12,000 that I've been waiting for, that I've not seen, not got. I thought I was going to get it today, or I thought it was going to be sent out today, and I get on there with a message saying that my account is on review again. And it was just so frustrating. I talked to my son after I certified. I shouldn't even have said anything, but I was excited that we were going to get that money and I could take him to do things. And all right, sorry. I don't need to be talking about myself. I'm sorry. These people went through, a lot of them went through really, really bad, storm down there. But it definitely wasn't what they were telling us it was. Not at all. We'll read this article here. It says, Hurricane Laura ravages Louisiana coastline with the wind speeds not seen in more than a century. Yeah, no it didn't. You're going to see. Laura made landfall around 1 a.m. Thursday near Cameron, Louisiana as a Category 4 hurricane. It says, Hurricane Laura made landfall as a powerful Category 4 hurricane early Thursday morning, packing 150-mile-per-hour winds and bringing a storm surge with the potential to inundate coastal areas of western Louisiana to the Texas border with up to 20 feet of water. Well, guess what? They had zero storm surge in almost all the areas. They had a slight storm surge. They're trying to say that it was 9 feet, right at where it came on shore there by Cameron. And but I have other stuff to show you that just shows how much they're lying about this. It says Laura made landfall around 1 a.m. near Cameron, Louisiana. The 400-person community is more than 30 miles east of the Texas border. Around 7 a.m., the storm was centered near Leesville, Louisiana, roughly 100 miles north of the Gulf Coast. It said the storm ties with a hurricane from more than 160 years ago as the strongest storm to hit the region. A hurricane called Last Stand made landfall in Louisiana as a Category 4 storm with 140-mile-per-hour winds in 1856, according to CNN. Gotta love that. Okay, and you want to know what they're doing so bad right here? This was fear. More fear than you'll ever hear probably again. Check this fear pushing right here.
We're only 7 miles per hour away from Category 5, but that does not matter. It's already stronger than Hurricane Katrina. It's now in the top 10, Wolf, of the greatest hurricanes to ever make landfall in the continental U.S. Remember the images of Mexico Beach when Michael moved in? Remember how it just pushed everything off the foundations? We will see that tomorrow. Remember images of Katrina, people waving on their roofs, SOS, we need help, rescue us. We'll probably see that tomorrow. Or the images from Houston, boat after boat from Harvey, people being rescued. We're going to see that tomorrow. This is going to really make an impact, and not just at the coastline, but well inland. This could be maybe a tropical storm or close to Category 1 up near Little Rock. 60 miles now from the coastline, 90 miles from Lake Charles. In 1913, Lake Charles had a high water mark of 13 feet, submerged half of the city. Tomorrow morning, they're looking at a water mark above that at 15.6. We've got hundreds of thousands of people here. If they stayed thinking, oh, I've rode that one out before, I rode that one out, Laura is not that one. The warnings go so far inland, the storm surge, along with the strong winds, along with the flooding rainfall, tornado watch in effect, all of these implications coming together for a 2 to 3 a.m. landfall, and throughout the morning, winds alone at least 110. I mean, you got from Galveston, areas just to the east of Houston, all the way over to Alexandria to Shreveport, winds strong enough up to 140, 150, destroying homes, churches, buildings, hospitals, businesses, you name it. Tearing off roofs, knocking out power. We've already lost power in Cameron, Louisiana. We're already seeing surge already over 4 feet, and now we're looking at 20 feet. That's the top of a second-story building. You add in 8 to 10, 12 inches of rain falling from the sky above. Those people who are in their homes were told, if you're staying behind, write your name and the date of birth on your arm. Get a piece of paper and put your social security number and names of next of kin and put it in a Ziploc in your pocket. They were told to take crowbars and hammers up to the attic if they need to escape. Inundation of 20 feet will go inward, Wolf, some 30 miles. This is going to wipe every building off its foundation. Now, it's good it's sparsely populated in this region, but there are several communities, such as Port Arthur to Lake Charles, northward, that'll feel the effects of this. It's going to be a harrowing night in the darkness of the night. The pictures tomorrow are going to be jaw-dropping.
So for those people, and I'm sure there's thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, who have not evacuated, what else can they do?
Well, there's not a lot they can do. And that's the worst part of what we're going through right now, because we can't do anything. Roads are already submerged in many locations. So first responders, local officials, they're going to have to sit this one out too. They're going to have to wait inside their home. The problem is some of the computer models right now, Wolf, are in some communities around Lake Charles are indicating water heights that are 8 to 9 feet high in their buildings, in their homes. So again, I cannot stress enough, the widespread power outages tonight with these winds at 140, 150. Right now, it's giving us gusts at 175. And it's just a matter of hours away. So if they're in their home, they lose power, they're going to have tremendous winds, knocking down trees, maybe shingles off the roof, if the roof stays, and then they've got this heavy rain and the submergence of water coming in from the surge. But again, this is going to create an impact far to the north. I expect we may have power outages, like I mentioned, from near Houston all the way up into Little Rock in the next couple of days. This is going to be an ongoing event. It's going to take more than weeks or months to recover from this, and tens of billions of dollars worth of economic losses. Just a terrible situation we're looking at right now.
Just some perspective, Tom, it was 15 years ago this week, Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans and the Louisiana coast. That hit as a hurricane Category 3. This is a Category 4, maybe even a Category 5. So when all these folks wake up tomorrow morning, if they sleep at all, when we wake up in the morning, if this hits at 2 or 3 or 4 a.m., what are we going to see?
Well, like I mentioned, probably pictures that are ingrained in our mind from many of the worst hurricanes we've seen. Records go back to 1851, Wolf, and we've never had one this strong make landfall in this area of the northwestern part of the Gulf. This is a first for this area. They were hit by Rita. It's almost the same path as Rita. Rita was at one time a 5, made landfall as a 3, and after taking precious lives, left $18 billion worth in damage, and that was 15 years ago. 2005, when we went through the entire alphabet in names of storms, and then we went 6 letters into the Greek alphabet, we're already breaking records. The earliest 5th named storm, 6th named storm, 7th. In fact, if you go back to 1851, the greatest number of landfall hurricanes in the U.S. was 6. It happened in 1886 and 1916. We tied it with Marco. We're going to break it with Laura. It's a crazy year, but these water temperatures are way higher than they should be, thanks, of course, to our climate change. But right now, all concerns on this massive, historic storm that is now just 60 miles offshore.
Have you ever heard somebody pump up a storm so bad on national TV? Aren't you supposed to keep people from panicking? Aren't you supposed to, having people calm down, not doing that? Yeah. That was it. I think that was awfully telling. Oh, we'll tell them it's this. We'll tell them you're going to die. It's unsurvivable storm surge, Laura weakened to a Cat 2 hurricane after making landfall, but still packs substantial winds of more than 100 miles per hour and will continue to produce heavy rain and flash flooding that are not expected to recede for several days. Government officials had warned people to find safety and get out of harm's way as the storm approached. It says more than 500,000 people in the storm's path in coastal Texas and Louisiana were under evacuation orders. That is what this was about. I'm going to get into that in this other video, so when I get this done, I'll have it out tomorrow. Please watch it and please share it. I believe, this is me, my opinion, that this was a test run, and I mean a very big test run, for maybe a storm in September, okay? You remember Katrina and Rita, right? Katrina hit first, then Rita hit just, following shortly after. They've been comparing this year to the 2005 hurricane season all, since the beginning, at least a month ago. So I just see the writing on the wall with that. They tested all of their evacuations, how they put these people on buses, made them have a bracelet, made them get put into the system. And then when they got to these, shelters or these hotels that they were taking them to, listen to what happened if they had symptoms or, thought they might have CV.
Bring in the organization's Director of Communications for the Texas Gulf Coast region, Mary Jane Mudd. And Mary Jane, what's the latest that you're learning from the infrastructure, from those on the ground?
Well, this storm is everything they said it would be. It is absolutely catastrophic. And the American Red Cross has been planning for this for quite some time. In fact, we plan with our partners all year long. But for the past week to 2 weeks, we have been deploying volunteers, and we have more than 600 up and down the Gulf Coast on the east side of Texas and Louisiana. They are partnering with local officials and with local organizations to support the shelters the best they can. And we even have more folks on standby with cots and blankets and other supplies, including PPE, to make people comfortable.
Mary Jane, it's tough. You have a lot of resources. You're very well organized. Everybody knows the American Red Cross, but you've got a hurricane that can go one way or the other. I don't know whether you thought Cameron, Louisiana was one way or it was the other, but when did you make the decision internally, okay, let's shift now that we know it's not going towards Beaumont, instead it's moving towards Cameron?
Oh, our disaster workers, especially disaster management, they are in constant communication with local authorities, with the NOAA, and they follow these weather patterns very, very closely. Flexibility is key, and that's something the Red Cross does. Our organization is all about disaster response and keeping people safe. So that shifting has been happening along the way. And again, we are working with the states on the shelters, and it's a collaborative effort.
How did you handle this differently? I was talking earlier with Katie Beck about the concerns, certainly about the coronavirus during these times, and you're trying to evacuate so many tens and hundreds of thousands of individuals, moving them from one place to another. What sort of considerations did you make at the American Red Cross, given that we're in this double doozy, if you will?
Yeah, it really is. It's double the concerns. It's hard enough to get people to evacuate when you don't have the fear of coronavirus. And of course, now the fear is there. And so I can't speak for the state-run shelters that we're supporting, but I can tell you that the American Red Cross has very specific protocols that it follows. For example, of course, when people enter, their temperatures are taken. PPE is given out, including face masks. Of course, there's hand sanitizer. If somebody feels sick or if they feel that they have been exposed to COVID, there is an area where folks can be in a kind of an isolated and comfortable area, while others are put in a different location so that they aren't really, they don't get in contact with each other. So please, our message to people is, if you haven't already and if it's still safe, please evacuate. If you're not in a position to do that, then you need to get up higher in your house. If you think there's a tornado coming, you move inside,
right,
in the bathroom, in the bathtub.
There you go. That is showing you what their plan was. I think this was a test run. I think they pushed so much fear on this storm. They said, let's do this. Let's get this fear out there. Let's panic everybody. Right at the last day before it comes in, let's not give them a lot of time to prep, because they didn't even start talking seriously until it was, just offshore the last day, really. And because, of course, it did rapid intensification, And so they're like, we'll give these people no time to prepare ahead of it. We'll just slam them on it. Say it's going to be, you know, a Category 4, you know, strong, almost a Category 5. They said that there was recorded winds of 176 miles an hour. Okay, a gust of 176. It's crazy. And we actually, when we were doing live, it showed 200 miles per hour on it, which was just insane. And we also kept seeing how the GFS and the European models they were not the same. They were so drastically different at the same exact time. We're not talking about projections. We are talking about the storm sitting where they were at. I'll throw that in here and let you check that out. Says, although as many as 150 people in the Cameron Parish the hurricane came ashore, ignored the orders, and were unreachable as of Thursday morning, according to the Associated Press. You hear that? 150 people there were in Cameron Parish that supposedly stayed back, and now they're gone. Okay? Pretty sick, right? Because that's what this thing was. This thing was just a normal Cat 1 or Cat 2 hurricane. Barely a Cat 2, if they were lucky with what the damage is everywhere. But directly in the center of this. It might sound stupid, but man, does it not seem like they have some type of a weapon. You look at Michael. Michael did the same thing. Just devastated one small area. This does the same thing, you know? And it was just complete lies from start to finish, you know, but now they're gone. You want to know why a lot of those had to stay? That goes back to the evacuation orders. Oh, sorry, we couldn't evacuate you. They were turning people away with hours to go because they said, you know, it was still midday. Sorry, we got to leave. The winds are already going to get up above 40 miles per hour. Sorry, we can't leave. We can't put you on the bus. Oh, sorry, we can only fill them a third of the way up. At first, I was told it was a half. It was actually 1/3 filled. To protect from what? CV. Okay? Says, this is a time for all of us to be praying for the best while prepared for the worst. God bless you and your families, Louisiana Governor John Bell Edwards tweeted just before the storm made landfall. Yeah, this dude's a joke. He's in that other video I'm putting together. You're going to love some of the stuff that he says. How many times he smiles and laughs right when you're talking about destruction and death of his own, you know, his own people, his own citizens. Says the hurricane tore buildings to pieces. Listen to how much they're building this up, right? Knocked out power to more than 500,000 people and inundated the coastline. Yeah, that's what it was about. We talked about it. What'd they get to do? They seriously just knocked over all the trees, destroyed all the power lines. You know, that's what they did. This storm footage, I'm going to show you in that video. I line it up side by side, and I show you damage from the derechos and damage from this storm. They're identical. This is the same thing. Then you can line it up with the storm Isaias. The same exact thing. This footage looks, you couldn't tell. I could mix up the footage and you would never know. Says the National Hurricane Center, the NHC, warned hurricane force winds will continue this morning in portions of the hurricane warning area with catastrophic wind damage expected near the eye of the storm. All right, this is what I'm going to go. I was going to save this, but you got to see this, okay? In the eye of the storm, right? Catastrophic, right? Well, I'm going to show you some footage while the eye wall was literally hitting Lake Charles. And I want you to see how these people are standing and just tell me if any of this makes sense.
It's called the eye wall of Laura. All right, they may come in. They may come in from a completely different direction. So just get ready for that. But otherwise, we still got it. Just due southeast right now coming in here. I can't tell you that the building itself isn't bending the wind direction, but it's definitely a southerly and easterly component still from my vantage point, and it is strong. There are trees down, numerous trees down across the area.
Okay, you just saw that. Now check this out. You got Jim Cantori, right, standing there saying, I'm in the wall. We're in the eye wall, as he's standing out in the middle of it with the helmet on, right? We're definitely in the eye wall. We got gusts of 140 miles an hour. Yep. Here you go. Here's a little something I dug up that I wanted you to see with Mr. Jim Cantori in it.
Usually by this time of year, you've seen our storm tracker Jim Cantori being blasted by a hurricane on a coastline somewhere, but that hasn't been the case yet this season. So Jim went indoors to test the raw power of the wind.
I'm inside the Virginia Tech wind tunnel where wind speeds can get as high as 190 miles per hour. We're not going to go that high today, but we're going to demonstrate the power of wind by going through tropical storm, category 1, all the way through 5 winds to see how much force actually builds up on me and how much I can actually take. The strongest winds I've ever stood in, probably between 80 and about 95 miles per hour. After that, without a harness like this, there's no way I could stand in the wind. I'm going to be honest with you, I was a little apprehensive at first. I mean, when you start thinking about Cat 5 winds, and then I started envisioning the destruction that they cause, I'm like, I must be on my freaking mind. So here we are now, strong tropical storm force at about 71 miles per hour. We're almost at minimal hurricane. I can feel my skin starting to vibrate. But that was just amazing to me, to watch your skin wave like that. I've never seen anything like it. Here we are at minimal hurricane force. Look what happens. All right, I start going for a ride. All right, here we are at 80. I can't lean into it now. Look at my mouth. See what's happening? So, I mean, this is about the strongest that I've ever stood in at about 90 miles per hour. Wow. We're at 100. Nobody is standing at 125 miles an hour. So any reporter that says that, it's not happening. Nobody is standing at 125 miles an hour. So any reporter that says that, it's not happening. Mike Bettis came here and he got to 133.
And I think we just made the record there.
So that gave me something to shoot for. And I thought I could get there and certainly go past that. 33,
34, 35.
When he passed Mike's record at 133, and that's a category 4.
At 135, it's like, you can't really take a breath of air because there's just so much force even on your mouth. I mean, you could tell just by the way my skin was flapping. When we got to 158.6, my ears had just popped. You can't hear anything. I can definitely feel my skin on my neck and my face moving. I thought, at any instant, I'm about to go airborne.
We've never had anybody go that fast before. I was nervous watching it. In fact, I was kind of egging the tunnel operator on to do it a little bit quicker so we would be through it faster.
I'm actually shocked that I got to 158.6. I really wanted to go to 175, but they cut me off. We went to Cat 5. Woo! Woo! We did it, baby!
That's pretty telling, right? Is that not pretty obvious that he wasn't in the winds that he was stating he was in? It wasn't even close. He couldn't even stay. Look at his face. He was all night last night. They were standing in the middle of this hurricane. So the eye wall, they're saying, went through the first eye wall, the northern, and then the southern eye wall. While they're standing out there recording, talking, reporting back and forth. It said, unsurvivable storm surge with large and destructive waves will cause catastrophic damage from Searim State Park, Texas, to Intercoastal City, Louisiana, including Sabine Lakes. The NHC said Thursday. No. They didn't get that. Not only did they not get some of the stuff that they're telling you, it's kind of convenient that they said, oh, well, the storm surge didn't hit where we thought it was gonna because the storm turned this certain angle, and that made the water go more to the right, from Cameron, Louisiana. So it actually went into the swamplands, and we're sorry, but there's no, we don't have any measurements there. So, we have no instruments there, no gauges. So it could have been 20 feet there, but we'll never know.
Quite the extreme wind event yesterday, or overnight into early this morning, too. But everyone's talking about at least they were spared from the storm surge. But it was really because of the path that helped them not see those impressive numbers of storm surge.
Yeah, it's just such a disaster in terms of wind, and we're so lucky that we didn't see a surge disaster on top of that. And, there was certainly significant surge. The surge at Calcasieu Pass at 9.19 feet. That's the second highest on record, just a shade below what we saw with Hurricane Ike in 2008. But I wanted to show you why we avoided the worst surge here. So this is looking at the radar from last night, and you see the eye wall, which is right there, northern eye wall coming into Lake Charles. So that was the windstorm right there. That's where we got those 130 plus mile per hour winds coming into Lake Charles. But the track, as you mentioned, makes all the difference in the world. And I think if this storm had been 15 or 20 miles farther west, it would have made a huge difference, because in that northern eye wall, you've got an easterly wind. And so if you have an easterly wind coming up just like that, that's not going to push the water in as much. Whereas in the eastern eye wall, you've got a southerly wind, and that is where you see the maximum onshore push of water. So looking even a little bit closer here, that is the ship channel near Cameron, and then here is Calcasieu Lake up into there. So if you had brought a southerly flow into that ship channel, into Calcasieu Lake, and then it would have driven right up into Lake Charles, that's what would have maximized that surge. Instead, what happened is it was farther east, and again, probably only by 15 or 20 miles, and in largely unpopulated areas. So, Colleen, you know, it's entirely possible that we saw a 15-foot surge there in those areas east of Cameron, and we just don't know. There are no gauges there. There's nothing there. So we may never know exactly how bad the surge was. So we came really, really close to seeing a surge disaster on top of the wind disaster that we've seen in Lake Charles.
How convenient, right? Not only that, what's another convenient thing they kept saying about the wind speeds? Oh, well, they got destroyed. You know, oh, well, our radars got destroyed. They even showed it this morning, all, you know, destroyed on the news, you know.
What I really want to point out to you here is the radar, and you can see the tower that it's on and the radome at the top there. They are built to withstand winds up to 134 miles per hour. Well, that's exactly what we had in Lake Charles. You see the before and after. They're pretty stunning, aren't they? And this is where they inflate the weather balloons. Look at that. That building has just been obliterated.
How convenient, right, that that blew up the way that that did? And then you look at the damage all around Lake Charles. That's nothing, hardly. You got tree damage everywhere. You have roof tile damage, or roof, you know, shingles you have. And some of that was probably tornado damage. You know, this storm was nowhere near what they were telling you that it was. Not even close. This surge could penetrate up to 40 miles. Yeah, right.
I just talked to Charles Peak, and he was telling me there is no water anywhere at this point, which is great news. So we may have dodged a little bit of a bullet there in the water department. But again, I'm just saying from what we can see, and that's just a little bit of driving around. Because if you think back, and you certainly take into account what was forecast, we would easily have water to the point where people couldn't leave this property.
Yeah, we have footage to watch. It did not. This is just pathetic what they said, what they showed. And I'm going to show you how Hurricane Rita, when it really had a storm surge, and I'm not talking from the flooding afterwards. Everything I'm going to show you is Rita up to the point to where it was had just passed, you know, making its landfall and moving through. Not after it sat there on them for days and flooded, okay? So I wanted to say that so everybody knew that I'm not just comparing it to the ending effects of Rita to, you know, the endings effects of Laura. I didn't. I took everything into consideration, and what you're going to see is going to blow you away. I guarantee it. I mean, I'm going to show you stuff, exact timing, the exact lineups when Rita and Laura hit in all these different locations that have wind speeds recorded, the difference in those, live coverage that was going on in the difference of these cities. So I cannot wait to get this information out to you. So this says Laura slammed into the U.S. after leaving nearly 24 people dead in Haiti and the Dominican Republic over the weekend. What did it do? It attacked the poor. The ones houses that were destroyed, they were mobile homes. They were the, you know, the poor areas, right? The ones that stayed behind, most of them were poor. They were, you know, a lot of these people couldn't get on the buses. So what did they do? They got rid of half the people on the bus, okay? Then on those buses. I mean, I hope that we're all wrong and we don't, you know, what they're doing with these people. Hopefully they come right back. But I just don't see it. Some of them might, but don't tell me the ones that they went there and said, oh, well, we have a fever, maybe, and they isolate you like they just said, that you think, oh, they're all just going to go back home hunky-dory. No, they're going to say you're in quarantine, you know? So they get half on the evacuation routes. That's how they get half of them. Put them all into the system. Take them wherever they want. And then the other half, they just hit it with a storm right at the beach. Hit certain areas. You know, kind of crazy that Katrina, Rita, all these things kind of all, while I was sitting here studying these storms, they just kept lining up. So many things like just a repeat, you know, over and over again. But, all right, I'm going to get off of here. I want to hurry and get this edited and out there. This video may not have been that edited. I'm going to just try to get it together, get it out so I can keep working on the other video that I really want you to see. Everybody stay safe. No fear, no panic. Just like we talked the whole entire time. No panic. Even when I thought it was going to be Cat 4, Cat 5, as it was seeing, and all the way right up to it, just kept telling everybody, get out of that area, because you just do not know. You know, these powers that be are using weapons and technology that we've never seen. Everybody stay safe, protect your family, and just don't give in to these lies. Don't give in to the fear, please. Thank you all that joined me in the live stream, and we'll talk to you real soon. God bless you all.